You hum the tune before you realize you've begun. Low, just above the breath, just enough for him to hear. Your boy's forehead burns like sun-cracked stone, and the damp muslin pressed to his temple is already warm again. All around you, the bureau tent stinks of unwashed bodies, army wool and kerosene. Children cry, cough, one's moaning like a calf left too long in the cold. But your son is still, except for the way he listens. You stroke his hair back from his brow, thick like his father's, stubborn and black as ash. And under your breath, you keep singing the only thing that's ever eased his fever dreams. Wana wawapikin hekaliyaya ye. The sacred book will return, and with it, the buffalo. You forget, for a moment, that the song is forbidden. Until the clerk hears, he's across the canvas partition, coughing into his elbow, shuffling papers like they mean more than people. You've been here 2 hours, waiting for rations, waiting for a name to be called that was never yours to begin with. Sarah Mackenzie, the tag pinned to your shawl says, widow of Corporal Thomas Mackenzie, U.S. Cavalry. But the face paint hidden beneath your bonnet knows better. The clerk pauses, and that pause feels like a thunderhead about to break. You don't turn, don't flinch. Just press your lips to your son's temple. He's burning up, but he's breathing. And the song soothes him. That should be all that matters. Then comes the shuffle. A paper set down harder than it should be. Then the slide of a chair, the slow, deliberate kind. You finally turn. The clerk is pale beneath his walrus mustache, his eyes sharp as razors now. Not bored, not tired, focused. One hand disappears under the table, the other points at you. Where'd you learn that? You don't answer. He stands. The flap of his long coat shifts, just enough for you to see the glint at his waist. Colt. Government issue. Easy to draw, easier to explain. She said the ghost dance words, he calls to the armed man standing at the tent's edge. That's a coded call. She's not here for rations. Your hands tremble, but not from fear. No, not that. Not yet. You've known fear. You've known it when the wagons burned outside Wounded Knee. When soldiers yelled over there and shot anyway. When you held your sister's hand as the snow turned red and she stopped breathing mid-prayer. But this isn't fear. This is decision. You lift your boy, gently. Fever makes him limp in your arms, but he stirs enough to murmur the song back to you. Not in English, not in Lakota, just the melody, the shape of it. And that's when you see the clerk reach. You don't wait. You bolt through the back flap of the tent, feet sinking into late spring mud. The wind bites. You hold your boy tight to your chest, bonnet flapping loose, and you run, not toward the campfire light, not toward the other tents. You run toward the dark edge of the trees. Behind you, someone shouts, "Stop that woman. She's got a marked child." And now you understand. Your boy wasn't just born in the wrong place. He carries something in his blood, something they fear, and they'll erase him to keep it buried. So you run, with the lullaby still echoing between his lips. And as branches tear your sleeves and your bonnet falls away, you pray the old spirits are still listening, because this time the ghost dance won't be danced in circle. It'll be walked. Step by step, mother by child through the dark, until the buffalo return. You never meant to leave him, not for more than 5 minutes, 10 at most. The stream is only a stone's throw from the cottonwood hollow where you laid him, wrapped tight, tucked into the hollow beneath the red boulder, just as your mother once did for you when you were sick and the cavalry came knocking. You whisper the prayer she taught you under your breath as your boots crush last year's leaves. Return swift as the hawk. Take no second step in the world of shadows. The water here tastes of copper and sage root, cold enough to burn the back of your throat. You filled the gourd fast, took only one sip. But when you step back into the clearing, he's gone. No sound, no cry, just the wind lifting softly through the high grass, and a hush so complete you can hear your own breath crack in your chest. You drop the water. The gourd shatters. Your legs move before your thoughts catch up. You reach the cradle spot with a single stride, hands trembling, mind blank with the kind of fear that doesn't shout, just settles deep in the bones. There's no blood, no drag marks, no sign of a struggle, just one thing, an eagle feather, long, dark, tipped with ochre, placed, not dropped, on the spot where your boy had lain, balanced carefully on a smooth river stone, a sign, a calling card. Hokshila Wawapi, the boy with the story, the child who sings spirits back into flesh. You look up toward the sacred hills. The sun is touching the horizon now, bleeding out into the sage and smoke. This is Spirit Hour, when the ancestors step softly between worlds, when old debts are paid and souls take new names. You follow the prints, not boot tracks, not soldier stride. These are moccasin marks, soft and sure, deep but narrow. One pair, light steps but deliberate. You crouch, fingers grazing the earth. Your husband once showed you how to read trail signs, heel breaks, stride angle, mud lift. But this is something older than tactics. This is ceremony. The trail doesn't weave or stumble. It ascends straight toward the outcropping above the cottonwood line, a place the elders called the bones of the sky. No one climbs there after sundown. No one sings near it, except one, the ghost dance prophet. You'd heard rumors. A man, neither old nor young, who appeared after the last snow and whispered the names of dead children to mothers who'd stopped speaking. He carried no weapon, walked with a limp, disappeared for weeks, then reappeared in the places where children vanished without a trace. People said he called himself Wind in Skin, but no one could say what tribe he came from. Some said he wasn't a man at all. You follow. Because that's what a mother does, even if the path leads into shadow, even if the one who took him means to raise him for prophecy, even if he believes your son was never yours to begin with. The air grows colder as you climb. The light thins. Behind you, the bureau camp disappears into dusk. Ahead, the hills open like a scar. And somewhere within that silence, you swear you hear the faintest echo of a child's song, your lullaby. Carried back to you on the wind, you don't hear him until he clears his throat. By then, the trail's gone narrow, barely more than a game path threading between thorned mesquite and sun-bleached shale. You've climbed far enough the air tastes thinner, drier. You've long stopped whispering his name, your boy's, because it felt like dropping stones into a canyon that doesn't echo back. You freeze, because the sound isn't wind, and it isn't animal. It's boots, deliberate, worn soles on sandstone. You're not going to make it much farther without water, the man says. You spin, one hand going for the bone knife on your belt. He's already seen it, doesn't move, doesn't flinch, just leans back on his heels, arms crossed. Long coat, faded blue-black, cavalry issue. Buttons gone, hat rim shadowing a face that's been weathered hard, creased where the sun bit deepest, mouth set, like he's waiting to be proven wrong. "You tracking wind and skin?" You don't answer. You can't tell if he's here to stop you or steal something you haven't lost yet. The man nods at the path behind you. "I saw you come up. Reckon the bureau boys will take half the night to notice you're gone." Which gives us a head start. Us. You study him closer now. His rifle is slung loose, not threatening, but well used. There is dust on his shoulders, prairie on his boots, not fresh from town, not out here to preach or beg. He sees your eyes flick to the badge still stitched, faintly, to the inside of his coat. "Buffalo soldier," he says. "Was long time ago." His voice is low, drawn out, southern lilt with sand rubbed in. "I was there the day they started whispering about the boy," he continues. "The one who'd bring back the buffalo, not in war, not in fire, just come back singing, and the spirits would follow." You step back. "You think my son is that boy?" He studies you for a beat too long, then shrugs. "I think someone thinks he is, and that's what matters." You narrow your eyes. "Why are you helping me?" "Because somebody has to." That's not a real answer, you know it. He knows it. So you wait. He looks away, then pulls something from his coat, a strip of cloth, faded red, frayed edges, pressed between his fingers like it hurts to hold. It's not until he hands it to you that you recognize it. The tiny sash you wrapped around your boy's ankle the night he got sick. The one that went missing after the second relocation camp. You look up sharply. He doesn't speak, because now you both know he's held it before, recently. And he didn't find it on the trail. He knew where the boy was. Maybe he still does. "I'm not here to take him," he says finally. "I just want him alive." Your breath catches. He's yours. His jaw tightens. His silence is the only truth you need. You turn away, every part of you screaming, not at him, not even at yourself, but at the quiet way the universe rearranges itself when something you thought belonged only to you doesn't. When the lie was never yours, but you carried it anyway. "I raised him." You whisper, "I know." "How long?" "Since Wounded Knee," he says, not meeting your eyes. "Since the first time I saw his face, and it felt like punishment and mercy all at once." The weight between you isn't just time. It's blood. It's war. It's a child born of tragedy and carried into silence. He speaks again, soft but certain. "Wind and skin took him for the prophecy, but prophecies lie. Or worse, come true the wrong way." You look at the hills rising behind him. You know where he's going? I know who's waiting. You don't trust him, but you don't know the land, not like he does. And he knew about the sash, so maybe for tonight you don't need to trust him, just walk beside him, just far enough to bring your boy home. The moon's out now, half hidden behind cloud, bright enough to silver the rocks, but not kind enough to show what's solid. You move fast but quiet. Ezekiel doesn't speak much, which suits you. He walks like a man who's learned not to trust anything that grows out here, knows which reeds hide mud too deep to scream from, which cactus splits water from poison, which ravines look like dry creek beds until the night rains come and drown you where you stand. The trail he's found twists downward, hugging the curve of a ridgeline, carved long before any railroad dreamed of crossing this land, and below, maybe half a mile, something glints. He raises a hand. You stop. He crouches beside you, points without looking. "There," he murmurs. "See the stone with the crack? Just left of that, in the arroyo basin. Something's been disturbed." You squint, then you see it. A shallow dip in the earth, fresh turned, moon wet. Buried, you ask. He nods, or half buried. You make your way down slow, every step a guess between safe ground and sinkhole. But you don't step careful enough. It's the fifth step into the basin that does it. You feel the ground give like it sighs. A softness that's not water, not dirt. Quicksand. It grips fast. Left boot, then calf, then knee. You freeze, instinctively flailing, but that makes it worse. You sink another inch. "Don't move," Ezekiel calls, and in 3 seconds flat he's beside you, flat to the ground, hands already outstretched. "I said don't move!" You grit your teeth, fighting the panic clawing up your chest. "I need leverage," you rasp. There isn't any, but there is something. Just ahead, half a pace beyond reach, is a child's moccasin, small, worn, beaded with a symbol you don't recognize, but you know it's his, your boy. You can feel it in the back of your throat, in the way your breath comes faster. And beside it, half covered by dirt and reeds, is something else. A ledger book, big, leather-bound, pages sticking out like torn skin, covered in blotches, black ink and something darker. You don't need to be told what it is. Blood. You reach for it, sinking half an inch more. Your right hand grabs a corner of the book. You tug. It's heavy, but it comes loose with a sick squelch. And then you see the names. 47, written in tight, cramped script. First names only, ages. A column marked deceased. But someone scratched that out in red and replaced it with placed. Placed where? With who? You flip a page, more names. Then, scrawled in block letters near the margin, Thomas, Tatanka Puer, Ghost Dance Viable, hold for review. Your heart stops. Before you can read more, Ezekiel grabs you. "I can pull you out," he says, "but you have to drop the book." "No. You can't carry both." I said no. Another inch of your body disappears. He swears under his breath, then rips off his belt, loops it around a nearby root, anchors it under his chest, lays flat, reaches again. "Sarah, now." You reach with one hand. He grabs your wrist. You're still gripping the ledger. "You let that thing go," he grits. "We both live. You don't, and that list becomes the next damn page." Your fingers tremble, and then you let go. The book slides into the muck with a thick, wet slap. Ezekiel pulls. Your ribs scream. Your shoulder feels like it's ripping loose. But you're free, covered in filth, shaking, sobbing, but out. You fall against him, not from trust, but gravity. Below you, the quicksand bubbles once, and the ledger sinks beneath the earth. Gone. He waits a moment, then helps you stand. You stare at the empty basin, then at your mud-coated hands, then at the moccasin, still lying on solid ground beside you. You pick it up, hold it to your chest. "I saw his name," you whisper. "He was on that list." Ezekiel doesn't speak, because he already knew. She lives in the shadow of an old butte, stone worn into the shape of a woman bent at the waist. Ezekiel calls it Grandmother Rock, says no rattler dares strike within 100 feet of her, says Winona's been here longer than the butte's shape was named. The sun's not up yet, but her fire is. You smell sweetgrass and rabbit fat, and something faintly bitter like boiled willow bark. Smoke curls into the morning like a question not fully formed. She doesn't look up when you approach. Her hands move slow over a strip of hide, scraping, turning, scraping again. The knife's bone handle worn smooth. There is a tin basin by her feet, and a coyote skull sitting beside it like it's part of the family. You step closer. She speaks first. You left the ledger. Her Lakota is older than yours, thick like riverbed stone, but you understand her just fine. I didn't have a choice. There is always a choice, she says, still scraping. You just picked the one that kept your blood moving. Ezekiel stands to the side, quiet. You clear your throat. My son, they took him. Winona doesn't answer. You step forward. I think you know where he is. She stops scraping, looks up. Her eyes are gray, not pale but full of something old and unshakable, like she's already seen this moment a dozen times, in other lifetimes, with other mothers who begged just the same. I know where the boy was, she says, but he moves now like water in spring, fast, toward what's calling him. You kneel not out of reverence, out of desperation. Please. Her gaze doesn't soften. Do you know what he is? I know he's mine. She smiles, sad but sharp. Not by blood, not by breath. He calls me Mama. And if he stops? The silence cuts deeper than any reply could. After a long pause, she says, he's the one they prayed for, the one who remembers before he speaks. He hums the songs we were beaten for. He dreams in the names they tried to bury. Your hands ball into fists on your knees. Then why take him from me? Winona finally stands. Not tall, but commanding. The wind folds her shawl tight around her frame, stitched with thunderbird and broken circle patterns. Because the child does not belong to safety, she says. He belongs to the fight. You look up at her. Where is he? She sighs through her nose, slow and full of weight. I'll tell you, she says, but only if you earn it. You blink. What do you want? She points west. Railroad men lit fire to my kin's cabin last night. Took my granddaughter while she screamed for me. She's 10. Same age your boy would have been if he'd stayed hidden longer. Your heart sinks. She's alive? Winona nods. Last I dreamed. What do you want from me? Bring her back. That's your price? Her voice hardens. No, that's justice. She turns back to her basin, where something is boiling now. Herbs, prayer sticks, a scrap of hair maybe. You want to find the boy, she says, voice low. Then find the fire first, and pull something living out of it. You stand, boots unsteady on packed earth. Ezekiel watches you, unreadable. Guess we're headed into another fire, he says. You glance back at the butte, grandmother-shaped, bent but standing. And somehow it feels like the land just nodded. The fire finds you before you find the house. Smoke snakes through the branches ahead, low and fast, colored that choking shade between rust and pitch. You taste it before you see flame. Dry pine, horsehair, kerosene. The wind's wrong. It's pushing the blaze toward the canyon wall, not away. They lit it to erase something. Fast, you and Ezekiel break from the tree line at a run. The homestead is already half-eaten, roof caved, window frames pulsing orange. The porch is gone, swallowed in collapsing timber, and from somewhere inside you hear it. A scream, high, raw. A child's. Ezekiel goes for the side, rifle up, scanning shadows. You head straight for the front. Sarah! I'm faster, you shout, already kicking through the smoke. The front room's a furnace. Beams crack and spit above your head. Heat curls your lashes, sears your lungs. You wrap your sleeve across your mouth and push through. You don't think. You move through the hallway, past scorched linens nailed to the walls, into a back room where the air is almost black. And there she is, a girl crouched beneath a butcher's table, arms around her knees, hair singed short by flame, eyes wide with terror, but not screaming now. You drop low. She tries to scoot back, but there's nowhere to go. You speak Lakota, soft, ragged. Hoka he, toksha ake. Come, little one, let's go home. She blinks, then flings herself toward you. You scoop her up, light as coals, and turn back toward the door. It's gone. The frame's collapsed. You spin, window. There, small, just wide enough. You tuck her tight against your chest, lower your shoulder, and crash through glass and smoke and burning wood. You hit the porch hard, roll once, twice. Come up coughing, cradling her as flames lick at your skirt hem. Then arms grab you, Ezekiel. He pulls you both free, back toward the tree line, into grass and safety. You hit the ground on your knees, body shaking, lungs clawing for air. But the girl is safe. Her arms are tight around your neck. Her breath comes fast, hot against your collarbone. She's sobbing now, but she's alive. Winona's debt is paid, but then you see it on her right shoulder. A scar, old, healed, ugly, circular, but with jagged edges like the burn from a soldier's tobacco tin. You've seen it before, years ago on your husband's shoulder, the one he used to cover without thinking, like it held shame that never healed. But he was buried at Wounded Knee. Shot down beside his own men, you stood over the body. You lit the sage yourself. So how does this girl have his scar? Ezekiel kneels beside you. He sees it too. Your voice comes hoarse, cracked. That mark. He nods, quiet, eyes dark as the coals behind you. I've seen others like it. Camp branding. For what? His jaw tightens. For ownership. Your stomach turns. He helps you stand. The girl won't let go. Behind you, the house collapses with a final roar, sending sparks high into the dark like a scream. Whoever torched it wanted this child gone, but they failed. And the scar. It wasn't just a burn, it was a signature of the man you buried, the man you trusted, and maybe never really knew. The girl sleeps now. She's curled against your side beneath a makeshift lean-to of pine boughs and saddle blankets. Her fingers twitch in sleep like she's still gripping something invisible. You haven't asked her name. Some wounds answer too soon when pressed. Ezekiel stands watch nearby, sharpening his knife against a flat stone, not because it needs it, because his hands won't stay still otherwise. The fire from the homestead burned low just after dawn. What's left is black bone, beams charred to brittle, scorched pots, melted tin. No signs of the men who lit it, no bodies, just smoke that smells like regret. You wait until the girl's breath is steady before you step into the ash. Boot steps sink deep, the world muffled by soot. Near what was once a root cellar, you find it. An iron lockbox, war issue, Army quartermaster style. The kind given to officers for sensitive material. The heat warped it, but the latch gives. Inside, 3 objects. A rosary, a photograph, water-stained, your husband in uniform, face sharp with ambition. And a journal, leather-bound, corners scorched, but the inside intact. You sit, open to the first page. His handwriting slants like he was always in a rush, but the words stop your heart. Ciao. Child 004, male, Eston, age 2, taken from Ghost Camp west of Porcupine Creek. Burn scar added for ownership mark. Rehomed via M. Whitmore. Payment, 3 gold coins, 40 acres, land credit. You flip to the next. Child 018, female, braided hair removed post-arrival, still cries in Lakota, will not last long. You stop counting. Ezekiel crouches beside you, doesn't look at the pages, just asks, "Is that his?" You nod, and then you say it out loud. For the first time. He wasn't killed at Wounded Knee. He stayed. Ezekiel says nothing, but the way his eyes narrow tells you he's known men like that. Maybe even followed orders from one. You turn another page. There's a name. Margaret Whitmore, widow of Colonel Elias Whitmore, Christian reformer, railway stakeholder, society benefactor. And if this journal is truth, the buyer, the woman who paid for children like they were tobacco bales. She lit the fire, you whisper, not the railroad, her. To erase this, Ezekiel says, to erase him. He points at the journal. You nod. Because this isn't a war diary. It's an invoice. You look back toward the lean-to. The girl turns in her sleep. Her shirt slips down a little, revealing another scar near her spine. You shut the journal, tight, then speak soft, like a prayer made of flint. She's not taking another child. Ezekiel doesn't smile, but he nods once, like a soldier who finally knows which side he's on. The circle is already forming when you arrive, deep in a stone basin west of Horse Creek, where wild sage grows waist-high and the stars don't need asking to show themselves. No fires, no torches, just the glow of moonlight on skin, beads, bone. They dance barefoot, each step marking dust with intention. Women in shawls embroidered with stars. Men with red paint across their chests chanted names rising in the rhythm of breath. And at the center, Wind in Skin. Not quite tall, not quite young, his hair streaked with storm gray, his body painted in ash. He moves like the wind he's named for, never straight, always circling. Your son is there, barefoot too, hair loose, cheek smudged, eyes clear. He turns toward the drumming, not toward you. You take one step forward. Ezekiel's hand catches your wrist. Don't, he whispers. They're not finished. And the drum continues. 4 beats. Then a pause. Then again, the ghost dance. You hadn't seen it danced since before Wounded Knee, since before they made the sacred illegal. But here it is, and the boy knows it. He's not guessing. He follows the steps like he was born remembering. Wind in Skin lifts a hand, and the drum stops. Your son steps forward. He looks directly at you, then sings, soft, steady, the lullaby, your lullaby. Except now it's longer, more complete. He adds verses you never taught, words your mother whispered once, half dead from fever, words you barely remembered. But he did. The circle begins to hum. You feel it, not just in your chest, but in the ground, as if memory has weight, and your boy's voice is calling something old back into shape. Wind in Skin kneels beside him, presses a hand to his head. He is the ledger, he says, voice like river ice cracking. He remembers what they tried to burn. You step forward slow, and your voice shakes. Please, he's just a boy. Wind in Skin doesn't look at you. He was, but they wrote him into prophecy, and now... The air shifts. The circle freezes. You feel it first in your spine, then a metallic click. Rifles. From the ridge. Voices. English. Military cadence. Drop your weapons! Hands where we can see! Shouting. Wind in Skin doesn't flinch. He just places a feather in your boy's hand. Run, he says. The drums start again, but it's a different rhythm now. Boots stomp through sage, gunfire cracks, screams scatter like birds. You grab your boy. He's frozen. You lift him, again, and bolt through the dark. Behind you, the circle breaks. Drummers fall. Someone wails. Ahead, Ezekiel is covering your flank, rifle hot in his hands, fire flashing from the muzzle. You duck behind a juniper, heart in your throat. "How'd they find us?" you shout. Ezekiel spits blood. "They didn't. They were told." And in that moment, you know, the ceremony was real, but the timing wasn't fate. It was bait. And your son, his memory, is no longer just a prophecy. He's evidence of massacre, of theft, of names rewritten and burned. You clutch him tighter, because now they don't just want to take him, they want to erase him. You run with your son in your arms and your heartbeat in your ears. The night explodes behind you, gunfire tearing open the grass, the sky, the screams. You hear someone yell, "She's got the boy," but you don't turn. You duck under branches, dodge between mesquite, feet slipping on dew-slick stone. Your boots are too loud, his breath too fast. You're not fast enough. Ezekiel's shadow cuts in beside you, limping but fast, rifle slung cross-body, jaw clenched like he's biting back pain or panic or both. "We have to split," he says. "You take the river." "What river?" He jerks his chin west. "You'll smell it before you hear it. 30 yards. "And you?" He loads the last round into the chamber. "I'll give you time." No, but he's already moving, back toward the ridge, back toward the rifles. He turns once, just long enough to say, "Don't stop, no matter what you hear." Then he's gone. You run. The boy is holding on tight now. No questions, no sounds, just the rhythm of your breath and the crunch of gravel underfoot. And then you smell it. River, sharp, cold, alive. You push through thistle, duck beneath a deadfall. And there it is, rushing black water under a sliver of moonlight. Fast, too fast for safety, too slow for hiding. Behind you, a gunshot cracks like bone, then another, then a scream. Not a dying one, a ripped open one. You almost turn, almost. Then your son says, "Mama." And you don't. You jump. The river slams into you like a horse at full gallop. You go under. It's ice and mud and limbs and stars spinning above. Your feet kick. Your arms fight. You keep his head above the water even as your own dips under again and again. You hit the far bank coughing, crawling through reeds and wet sand. You hide beneath a root shelf, chest heaving, boy in your lap, both of you soaked through. For a moment, nothing. Then, footsteps. Ezekiel. Dragging himself across the shallows, his rifle gone, one leg limp. You run to him. His face is pale, too pale. You drop beside him. He laughs soft and strange. "Told you not to stop." You try to pull him up. Nothing. His legs stay. His eyes search yours. It's gone. You shake your head. "No, you're in shock. It's just—" "It's gone, Sarah. From the waist down. I felt it when I hit the rocks." He grips your sleeve. "Listen to me. He's going to need both his names." "What?" Ezekiel coughs, red foaming at the corners. "Thomas Mackenzie for the world that won't ask. Tatanka Iotake for the one that still listens." You choke. "I can't leave you." You already did, that night at Wounded Knee, when you took him and ran, and I let you. He smiles, and then his voice goes quiet. "Go." Behind you, the dogs are barking again, metal clinking. They're coming. You kiss his forehead. You run. And you don't look back this time, because some choices, once made, carve through you forever. The Carlisle School looms like a tomb dressed in bricks, cold, symmetrical, and quiet in the way places get when no one has spoken truth inside them for a long time. Windows boarded, doors chained, paint peeling from words carved in stone above the lintel. Kill the Indian, save the man. You cross the threshold like a ghost, your son clutched tight to your chest. He doesn't speak, just looks around, brow furrowed, not in fear, in recognition. The main hall is full of dust and paper, rows of desks, one still smeared with an old ink stain the shape of a hand. Thomas walks ahead, barefoot, trailing fingertips across the walls. He stops at a door, pushes it open. Inside, shelves, boxes, a room thick with a smell of mildew and forgotten names. You light the lantern. The flame shudders. Ezekiel's voice echoes in your mind. He's going to need both his names. You kneel beside a cabinet. Files, folders, ledgers labeled in blocky black script. Surrender documents. Replacement. Tribe unknown. You open the nearest one, and your breath catches. A death certificate issued to Thomas Isaac Mackenzie. Date 3 years ago. Cause pulmonary decline, except he didn't die. You run your fingers down the page. Signed by Corporal Thomas Mackenzie, your husband, your dead husband. There's more. An adoption consent form with your name on it. Sarah Mackenzie, your signature. At the bottom, the curl of the M, the loop of the K. It's real. You stare. And the realization crawls in cold, slow, and cruel. You signed it. You signed the surrender of your son. Not in a courtroom, not knowingly, no ceremony, no consent. It must have been in the relief tent, the day after the camp burned. You were starving, half mad with grief. They gave you forms to fill for war widow support. Told you it was pension paperwork. You signed with a crying baby in your arms. They told you to move to the next station. You never looked back. Now the document lies in your lap, stamped, sealed, approved. Your son tugs your sleeve. He's holding something. A page from the file. It's torn. Drawings, stick figures, one labeled another, taller, with a big hat, labeled her. Below them, a horse and a cage. You press the drawing to your chest, a sob catching in your throat. He remembered. He remembers everything. And no law, no paper, no stolen signature will make that untrue. You hear boots outside, fast. Then a voice. Female, measured, icy. Sarah Mackenzie. That child is property of the Commonwealth under Federal Treaty 473. You are in unlawful possession. You stand. Step into the hallway. There she is. Margaret Whitmore, widow, social reformer, benefactor, and buyer of souls. You meet her eyes and say what you've never said out loud before. He's mine. She tilts her head, doesn't blink. No, he's a case file. You signed him away. You lift the page, your son's drawing. You show it to her like it's a shield. He remembers you. That rattles her. For a flicker, just enough. Then she draws a pistol. The pistol stays pointed at your chest. Margaret's hand doesn't shake. Her lips don't twitch. She's done this before. Your boy hides behind your leg, eyes locked on her like he sees something more than flesh, not fear, something older, recognition. Hand him over, she says. You stay quiet. Margaret lifts the pistol higher. Now. Then, softly, impossibly, he begins to sing. You feel it first in your spine, that tone, that impossible melody. Not the lullaby this time, not yours. Something older. 3 notes rising and falling like hoofbeats across snow. It's not a child's voice anymore. It's the voice of every mother who ever begged for her child's name to be returned. Margaret flinches. Her fingers twitch. I said stop. He keeps singing. And the wind rises. You don't imagine it. The dust begins to move, circling, curling, coalescing into the shape of horns, then hooves, then thunder. You hear it, deep and slow, like drums made of bone, echoing through centuries. Tatanka, the buffalo. They aren't ghosts. They're here. You turn. At first, it's just the sound, but then, across the far end of the compound, something stirs the tall grass. Then 2, then 5. Then a dozen bison rise from the earth like they've been sleeping under it since before trains carved up the soil. Margaret stumbles back. She raises the pistol to fire. But your son steps in front of you. He's still singing. And the buffalo answer. Their hoofbeats match his cadence, each step shaking dust from beams long dead. The floorboards beneath Margaret's boots groan, then crack, then give. She falls through the rot like a body vanishing into time. Silence. You and your son stand in the hall. Only the boy breathes hard. You kneel. He climbs into your arms like it's the only place he belongs. Outside, the wind dies. The herd's gone. But the track marks, deep, wide, real, are still there. He looks at you, voice hoarse. Mama, he says in Lakota this time, I remembered. You hold him and whisper back, so did they. You camp just outside the ruins, close enough to smell the scorched ledger pages still buried under brick and bone, far enough to see stars. Your boy sleeps beside you, curled in the hollow of your arm. One hand still clutches the feather wind and skin gave him. His fingers twitch in dreams, like he's still singing somewhere else. Ezekiel's coat is draped over him, even now, even gone. That man's protection lingers like smoke. You watch your son breathe, slow, steady, but different. Something settled in him during that song. Not a burden, not quite. More like remembering made room. You stir the coals, add another piece of dried juniper. Then you hear it. Boots, but not fast. Measured. You don't reach for the knife, not yet. A woman steps from the dark, civilian clothes, worn shawl, spectacles low on her nose. Not Margaret Whitmore, someone quieter. She speaks soft, like someone used to talking where whispers are safer than shouts. I'm with the Preservation Bureau, she says. You raise an eyebrow. So was the last one. She nods. Doesn't flinch. I know, that's why I came. You glance toward your boy. He hasn't woken. He's the one, isn't he? She asks. The child who remembers everything. You don't answer. She kneels at the edge of the firelight, pulls out a small tin, opens it slowly. Inside, not documents, seeds, corn, sage, a bead. I'm not here to take him, she says. I'm here to ask what you want done with what he knows. You stare at the seeds, then at her. What he remembers, she says, voice low, could undo years of lies, treaties, school records, even townships. If he speaks, whole bloodlines could reclaim what was stolen. You let the silence hold, then say flatly, and if he stays quiet? She closes the tin. Then he gets to be a child. That's the choice. Not paper, not borders, memory or mercy. The woman stands, places the tin beside the fire, then turns. Before she disappears, she says, some ledgers are made of ink, some of names, but his was sung into him. She leaves you with the stars. You sit in the silence and hold your son a little tighter, because now You know what they're really afraid of. Not prophecy, not rebellion, memory, real, untaught, unburnable. You bury Ezekiel beneath a cedar tree where the river bends. Your boy helps place the stones. He doesn't cry, just hums, low and steady, the first bars of that forbidden song, the one that brought buffalo from dust, the one that made soldiers tremble. You carve Ezekiel's name into the bark with the tip of your knife. Then sit a while, saying nothing. Because goodbye doesn't mean the same thing to people who came from vanishing. When you rise, you already know what comes next. There's no safe path, no quiet way forward, only one final crossing. You ride into Dodge Station under dawn's first breath. The rail lines are still empty. Sunday silence. The station house leans like an old man who saw too much war and not enough truth. Inside, Margaret Whitmore kept her vaults. You know, because your husband told you once, drunk, the only time he ever said something he didn't mean to say. You push through the side door, pick the lock with a bent nail and a prayer. Inside, shelves, dozens, crates marked educational aid, reform inventory, orphan placement. But you know what they really are, ledgers. You strike a match, set the first corner aflame. You don't wait to watch it spread. You go shelf by shelf, page by page, box by box. Each ledger you light is a name you can't pronounce, but your son might. Outside, townsfolk begin to gather. A few men reach for pistols, but they stop when they see your boy standing beside you, not afraid, not small, just awake. You finish the last shelf. Ash falls like snow. Someone calls your name, Sarah, but you don't turn. You kneel beside the final page, a birth record, blank except for one line, property of. You strike one last match. Let it burn. Because names were never theirs to take. You don't say goodbye to the ashes, you just walk. West, toward no flag, no claim, no marked line. The ledger smoke trails behind you, soft against the blue morning. Your son walks at your side, quiet, but there is weight in that silence now. Not fear, not confusion, just a child holding the whole truth inside his chest. You stop when the land tells you to. A bluff overlooking the valley where wild horses graze, where a hawk circles wide and slow like it's waiting for a name. You build the fire small. This one is not for burning. This one is for marking. He sits cross-legged across from you, eagle feather tucked behind his ear, Ezekiel's coat still too big for his shoulders. He clutches something in his hands, a bundle you hadn't seen before. You nod once. No questions. He unties the cloth. Inside, a stone, painted, split with ochre and old memory, and a strip of ledger paper with one word written in crooked, careful English, Thomas. He stares at it, then reaches for the charcoal from the fire's edge and writes underneath, Tatanka Yotake. His hand trembles a little. You feel yours do the same. Then he looks up at you, voice steady. I want both. You nod. That's the only answer that makes sense. He takes the stone and places it in the fire, not to burn but to warm, then presses it to his chest and whispers, "This is who I am." No wind stirs, no spirits rise. But somewhere in the grass behind you a drumbeat starts. You don't hear it with your ears, you feel it in the ground. The beat of the name the earth always remembered. And finally so does he. You don't travel much after that. The road stopped asking you to. The boy, your boy, learns to read creek signs and crow calls before sunrise. He listens more than he speaks. But when he does speak, it's always both names. Thomas, Tatanka Iotake. One for the world that tried to silence him. One for the one that wouldn't let him forget. Some nights he still hums. Not the prophecy tune, the lullaby. Your voice returned in his own, a little crooked but whole. Sometimes he adds verses, some you know, some you don't. You never ask where he hears them, you just listen. One evening you find him carving something into a cottonwood stump, not initials, just a line. I was remembered, that's all, that's enough. Because fire may burn the pages, but names carved in breath and bone, they stay.